Episode 154, Colin Hernandez. Colin Hernandez is a Democratic Socialist and Candidate for California Assembly District 51. He was recommended to me by a trusted colleague as somebody who's trying to use the levers of elected office for good. Midterms are ahead. Please welcome to the show, Colin Hernandez. What's up, everybody? I am at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Again, my run is August 6th through 30th. My show is called Anti-Fascist Pasta Night. It's part of the Free Fringe, so if you're in Edinburgh, come on out. Learn to love cats and hate capitalism if you don't already. But chances are you already feel that way because you're listening to this show. But yeah, it's a fun political comedy hour. We talk about the rise of fascism in the United States. We talk about the history of fascism in Italy and some misconceptions around being an Italian-American. It's a really fun show. It's honestly the most fun I've ever had putting together a stand-up hour. I am more proud of this stand-up hour than any stand-up hour I've ever done, which is the way it's supposed to be. I mean, your most recent one should be what you feel is your best one, right? Because you're supposed to... Anyway, yeah, you get it. Come on out, Edinburgh. Hope to see you there. And if you're not in Edinburgh, or if you just want to watch a movie, Left at Wall is out now. You can watch it free on Tubi or YouTube with ads, totally free. Left at Wall, a wonderful anti-capitalist comedy about family. Check it out wherever you get your movies. All right, on to today's episode. Colin Hernandez, good to see you again.
Good to be on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you said that we met at a Jimmy Dore live show in 2018.
It was like around then, like 2017, 2018. But, you know, I've definitely not been a fan since then. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, was the show funny?
It was good. It was okay.
All right. I have no further questions. Thanks for coming on. So, well, tell me a little bit about you. What led to you showing up to that show in 2018? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. I was born and raised here in LA. I grew up in the Valley, the San Fernando Valley. So I've been in California for most of my life. And, like many people around that time, I was kind of fed up with the Democratic Party, especially after the 2016 election, especially after the 2016 primary where, the writing was clearly evident with anyone with eyes, saw just how much the DNC pushed their thumb on the scale to make sure that Hillary, despite so many polls saying she would lose to Donald Trump, despite so many people not wanting that, despite so many people advocating for something bolder in that time, completely made sure that Hillary was the nominee. And obviously she lost. And, rather than taking the lessons from like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have ran a corporate centrist at that time, they doubled down on that, saying, no, we didn't try true centrism. We didn't try more. We need to be more centrist. We need to appeal to more of that mythical moderate Republican. And I was fed up with it. So I like many people at that time, wanted to pursue more leftist groups, listen to more leftist, more left-leaning voices. And I did like Jimmy Dore when he was on the Young Turks. So I did enjoy his show, but eventually, he kind of got too weird for me right before COVID. So I kind of stopped after that or before that. So, but that's my journey here and why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm. So where'd you grow up? I mean, like what led you to these politics? I mean, was it just, what happened before 2016?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in the Valley, and what made me. It's funny you say that because a lot of people don't know is that I started politics when I was in high school. My mom was definitely listened to too much talk radio when I was a kid.
What kind of talk radio?
KFI 640, AM 640, AM talk radio. She would listen to Rush. She would listen to all those conservative talk radio hosts. And for the longest time, as a way to rebel, I was I'm Republican. This was back in 2005, 2006, 2007. I was vice president of my high school's Republican club too. And
Oh,
so I've always had
no.
that political. Yeah, I know.
You were
It's
one of the
my
bad guys.
one of the bad guys back then. And I look back on that funny moment in my life. It was like me trying to rebel. California being blue. This was my way to rebel against the system. But what got me back on this path was, I worked at In-N-Out for a long time, for like 7 years. And when I was there, I met so many people from different like walks of life, different lived experiences. And it kind of made me challenge those beliefs I had. And those beliefs were challenged even further when I went to school. So I went to school in Colorado. I went to Boulder. So very lefty school in itself. So where I met a lot of people from different like gender identities, different, sexual orientations, different like religious backgrounds, who all shared to me their life experience. And it made me realize like I lived in a bubble. I was in this privileged bubble and I didn't know much about the world. And therefore, like I wanted to learn more. And I graduated college in 2013. And this was right after the 2008 financial crash. So we're still dealing with the effects of that at the job market. I couldn't find a job at all, despite going to school, despite doing all the right things. Sure, my grades could have been a little better, but, still graduated nonetheless. And I was having a hard time finding it. And it made me upset. It made me angry. It made me disillusioned with the whole process.
Were you still Republican at this point, or were you?
I don't know what I think I was like in the gray area of like not being a Republican anymore, but like, I don't know if I would call myself a Democrat at that point either. But what got me fully there was, I worked on some campaigns of people who I worked on a California State Senate campaign. Sandra Fluke, she ran for state Senate back in 2014, and that's like how I was like, okay, now I'm a Democrat now. I align with her values. She's someone who I could look up to. I think this is the right way to go. And again, this was like the rise of the Tea Party movement as well. So I really wanted to fight against what could have been me. I look back, I tell everyone, like, I am so glad Charlie Kirk was not around when I was in school, because I don't know where my life.
You would have been swooed?
I think I would have been swooed. I don't know.
Oh, man.
But luckily, he's a few years younger than me. Luckily, he didn't start that until like around 2014 when I was already done with school.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then after that campaign, I worked at an LGBTQ rights nonprofit, which, funny enough, that's how I know the incumbent I'm challenging against. He was the executive director of Equality California. And I learned a lot. This was like on my journey to being like a hardcore leftist now. After that internship, it was an internship. After that internship, I moved to DC, where I worked in tax policy. And you see, when you work in tax policy, you see how much our tax code is written to just benefit the wealthiest. And it's almost like eye-opening in a lot of ways that billionaires run the show. We have no choice in this, that anytime they get tax cuts, it comes at the expense of our healthcare, our housing, our, Social Security, our SNAP, WIC, all these benefits that people rely on daily. And obviously around this time, this was during the 2016 election, I think Bernie was the first person to speak to something that I was feeling frustrated about.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's the starting point where like, okay, now I'm like left, very left. I'm going all the way. And so I worked in tax policy, and then I moved back to LA, where I worked in criminal justice reform. And I worked there for about almost 3 years. And this was during the George Floyd riots, when he was murdered in Minneapolis. I think it was Minneapolis. I might be mistaken on that, but
Minnesota, it was Minneapolis. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I doubted myself, but I tell a lot of people this. If you work in criminal justice reform or like in criminal sphere, it is almost impossible to not come out as an abolitionist, because again, you see how our systems are just designed to punish people, especially if you're Black and brown. Incarceration creates a cycle of poverty for a lot of people. And I don't think that incarceration is the answer. I don't. Yeah, it's just a very eye-opening
Well,
experience.
I think
And
what you said only applies to people with a moral conscience, though. If I'm being honest, I mean, I'm not trying to be like, you know, disparaging, but yeah, I think a lot of people they go into it and they come out of it in abolition, but the people who stick around are those who are at least reasonably okay with it.
And sure, to that extent too, people always say, what is the entry point to leftism? And a lot of people say, that reading Marx or whatever is the entry point to leftism. But to your point, for me, it would be empathy.
Hmm.
It's empathy that's the entry point to this. That's seeing how your neighbors are struggling to get by without any help. It's seeing that how our system is rigged against a lot of people based on their gender identity, based on their race, their nationality, their immigrant status. So it's tough to reconcile, and that's what I want to fight against when I'm in this race. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny you bring up like being younger and your concerns about like Charlie Kirk, if he would have been able to influence a younger you, because it's like I've always wondered about this. I do feel like the left in general has a hard time getting younger people. And I think part of it is just right wing ideas make more sense when your brain's not fully developed yet. Like
Yeah.
when you and that's just the truth. Like I'm not trying to be funny. Like it's the truth. It's like when you don't quite understand nuance or context and you have limited life experience, on paper, that all makes sense to you. Like it makes sense. Well, why shouldn't somebody just get what they earn? And if they don't like the pay of their job, just get a different one. Yeah, if you live a very limited, reasonably sheltered life, which I know not all young people have that experience, but a lot do. Yeah, like right wing ideas make sense to you. And then usually you experience more and you drift away from those ideas. I mean, that whole cliche where they're just like, well, if you're under 26 and you're not lefty, you don't have a heart. But if you're over 26 and you're not conservative, you don't have a brain or whatever. That I forget who said that, but I think the total opposite. I think it's like, yeah, if you're under 26 and you're not on the left, you definitely don't have a heart. But I would say you don't have a brain either in most cases, or you just don't care. Like, because there's no
Yeah.
way. It just doesn't. I mean, if Ayn Rand makes sense to you and you're over 13, you missed a lot. Like you just did. So I get why young people, they hear like these kind of demagogues like a Ben Shapiro or whatever, and it makes sense to them. And then it's like, well, how do you get them out of that? And I think a lot of times they do grow out of it and go left, but not all the time, clearly.
Yeah, and we're seeing like a rise in like anti-intellectualism on the right. So like
Right.
even people like Ben Shapiro are not, or even Jordan Peterson are not, the hot figures anymore on the right. It's people like Andrew Tate. It's people like Clavicular. It's people like Nick Fuentes. Like these people, maybe not so much Nick Fuentes, but like Andrew Tate and Clavicular and all these people are like, or Asmongold, I guess, is a good example of like anti-intellectualism on the right. How it is a badge of honor to almost, for lack of a better phrase, like be stupid. Like I'm
Right.
stupid, I'm ignorant, I don't care. I believe what I believe, and that's great. So,
Well, and also
uh,
if you're going to complain about not getting laid, I mean,
yeah,
prepubescent dudes are, I mean, you're really preaching to the choir. I mean, yeah, I sometimes I wonder if I was that age and that shit was around, what could have happened to me? Because I mean, I was raised Catholic, so my first introduction to like just political ideas was a very skewed right wing version of things. And then I got introduced to more, more deeper things, especially socially, like from my family
yeah,
and whatnot, because my family's relatively progressive. But yeah, I mean, had there been like an Andrew Tate preaching that kind of stuff back when I was also, kind of being fed like church dogma, how might I have turned out? It's tough to, I don't know. It's kind of an overwhelming thing to think about in many ways.
Yeah.
But, well, so what made you decide you wanted to run for office?
Yeah, there was a couple reasons. So the first reason I say is, or I point out, is that, like I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised here in LA. I've lived in California for most of my life, and I've just seen through the history of the state, our state politicians have just constantly bent over backwards to cater to the whims of the ultra wealthy, and as a result, we are leaving behind working people, and because of that, like, result, there's this giant vacuum that is allowing right-wing reactionary thought to be flourish here in California. California's never been California. It's never been this Marxist republic, a lot of people say. But at the same time, our state politicians have never done anything to help improve people's lives here. And that allows right-wing thought to flourish. And I think that was most exemplified through the gubernatorial race. Like, I'm not a fan of Becerra. I really don't like him. I think he's going to be Newsom 2.0, and I don't mean that as a compliment. But for the longest time and earlier this year, the polling was suggesting that our choices this November was going to be between Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. And I'm glad it's not, but Becerra still is not a great choice either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an indictment on, like, the blue state California, that two Republicans could have been our choice in November. The other thing is that there was this kid I went to high school with who announced he was running. And he was running as some far right, white nativist, Islamophobe, transphobe, like tech bro. And I was terrified of that because for the longest time, it was just him and the incumbent in this race. And I do believe that the incumbent could have been a paper tiger. That, because this district, for those who don't know, I'm running for Assembly District 51, which covers about Santa Monica all the way to Griffith Park. And that area does contain some of the more conservative parts of LA. So I thought, we live in a world where Donald Trump has won the presidency twice, that someone like this kid I went to high school with could have won. And I was terrified of that. Like, it's bad enough we have Trump in the White House. I didn't want my own local Trump in my own backyard. So given California's jungle primary rules, I hope someone had jumped in the race to knock him out, so we didn't have to worry about him, but no one was. I was waiting for someone on the left to challenge to get in this race. No one did. And so I felt it upon myself to do it because I didn't want this guy anywhere near a position of power.
So did you knock him out in the primary?
Yeah, he got dead last.
Nice.
And since then,
did you text him? Are you guys still in touch?
He texted me that night.
Like, sorry, classmate.
He texted me that night, just saying, well done. And that was it.
That's cool.
No, it wasn't. Because this guy was... This guy, his name, he went by Richard back in the day, but he goes by Dick now. And his whole campaign slogan was like, we need a Dick in the room. We need a Dick in Sacramento. And it was just like
that's very clever. I don't know how he thought of that. It's genius.
And it was very childish humor. And he would call people Beast, like Brother Beast or Beast Brother, or like whatever. And he just texted me.
What does that mean? What does that even mean?
I don't
even know.
And he just texted me that night.
I don't even know. So some of those personalities you mentioned, I didn't know either, actually. Some of them I did. But anyway, he texted you?
He texted me that night saying, well done, Beast. And I'm just like, okay, great. And so, yeah, I mean, like, two Republicans got in the race. So, he got dead last with only 3,000 votes, and I got about 30,000. So, obviously we did something right because we were able to defeat two Republicans. One of them had the backing of the LA GOP. And I was a nobody. No one knew who I was. I only raised about $20,000. And so we were able to get that second spot.
So who's your opponent now? What's the general going to look like?
So my opponent now is the incumbent. His name is Rick Zuber. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to work for Med Quality California. And he's like your classic I like classic politician of I will say I'm progressive, but my actual legislative record is like anything but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's typical California.
Yeah. He takes money from the landlord lobby. He takes money from Airbnb, takes money from the health insurance lobby, like a lot of the bad industries that, a lot of corporations that profit off our affordability crisis here. So it's me challenging him on that aspect. And he's also the chair of the Democratic caucus in the assembly. So he's a pretty powerful guy.
Yeah. Are you going to get to debate him, or like what has the interaction been like so far? Because for everyone listening, this is not my district, so I'm not super fluent on what's not my district. But
so I don't know if there will be a debate. I don't think so. I mean, I would love to debate him. We kind of had a debate earlier this year. There was a forum for an endorsement for one of the Dem clubs here. I was there in person. He was like propped up on the screen over Zoom.
Of course.
And so, we had our forum. At the end of it, I try to be like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I used to work for you. And he's like, I don't remember you. Sorry.
Wow, that's harsh. You think he'd be like more like, oh, of course I remember you. You were great in the office. Tell you what, chap, if I beat you, you could have your job back. Waka waka. Like, you think he would have been, been the likable blank suit DC type. You don't have to respond directly to that. I know that as somebody who's not running for office, I can say things that you can't. And I don't even know this guy. I'm just, typical California Democrat. Well, do you think that California can be saved electorally? And if so, how?
I think it can. And I think that involves fighting for things, like I mentioned, that, when you have a bold vision of California that actively, improves people's lives, that improves the material conditions here of working people, that it can be saved. Because when we don't, that's how you see a lot of right-wingers come in and say, hey, the Democrats don't give a shit about you. Like, come to us.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if you're able to tackle that, provide for people's basic needs, then they're less susceptible to that kind of rhetoric. So that's why, we're trying to desperately fight for that. So when it comes to CalCare, universal childcare, housing for all policies, climate justice, and a bunch of other things as well.
So you talk openly about CalCare. You talk openly about abolishing ICE. These are all things I am 110% on board with. However, I am not the target voter you need to get. So how do you kind of package these things for people who might not be ready for it?
I think you come from it like you have to speak some sort of way to different folks. And I think what resonates especially when you're talking to CalCare, what resonates with a lot of people is talking about the business side of it, saying how CalCare can help small businesses thrive. Because, one of the biggest costs that a lot of small businesses face in California is the employment based health insurance. So if you don't have that, that's a huge saver to your business. You don't have to go under. This district also represents Hollywood, a lot of studios here. We are seeing how our affordability crisis in the state is affecting Hollywood, the decline of Hollywood. We just saw Marvel Studios announce that they're leaving not just California, but the United States in general to go to the UK, a country that has higher taxes than the US, but socialized medicine. And they said, the reason we're going to the UK is because they have the NHS. And we didn't want to deal with rising healthcare costs.
Oh, well. Have you had some communication with Hollywood for CalCare? And
I did. They're very supportive of
Caroline's been on the show before. Yeah, they're doing amazing things. But yeah, that is such a no-brainer. Every single worker in Hollywood, like in every single person, should be 100% for CalCare, because that's why there are. Not the only reason, but a big part of the reason why we're in the mess we're in. And now that it has just gone so global, if we can't compete with other countries where the healthcare is not something these studios have to pay for, it's done. Like, it's over. man, I don't want to get on like a total soapbox here, and especially since like this comes up in a lot of interviews, but it's like, as somebody in the business myself, it's like sometimes I listen to people and I feel like they sound like the dog that got abandoned by its owner, but is waiting just in case and won't stop waiting until they starve to death. I'm not saying that it's totally dead and not coming back, but I am saying that if there aren't drastic changes, it's done. Like it's not. It's probably not going to come back the way we knew it. Those heydays and like the early aughts and stuff. That's probably over. I hope I'm wrong, but it's probably over. But
I hope I want to fight for it, because like while I don't work in entertainment, my wife does.
mm-hmm.
It is hard. We are trying to plan a future around an industry that doesn't know what tomorrow is going to look like.
Right.
We've held off starting our family because of that. And so it is a situation, an issue that is near and dear to us. So I'm trying to, with this campaign, also bring light to the fact that something like CalCare can help save Hollywood. Something like affordable housing can help save Hollywood, and other issues like that. So
how do you package ICE for people who might not be ready for that? Sub question along with that, what response have you gotten when you do say abolish ICE?
Luckily for me, this is a pretty blue district, and I think I don't encounter many people who are like, "Whoa, hold up there, buddy! Like abolishing ICE, I don't know about that," because we've seen through polling that like everyone is supportive of abolishing ICE. It's not a fringed idea. And I think they've seen it. I think enough news has convinced a lot of people that these thugs on the streets are thugs. They're like, it's the Gestapo. It is an oppressive force that is terrorizing a lot of our neighbors. And especially when American-born citizens are being killed now just for standing up for their neighbors. I think everyone can see that, like, whoa, that is a bridge too far. So luckily, I haven't encountered many people who are like saying, I don't know about the ICE stuff, but it is something that I still run on despite it,
No, good for you. I mean, dude, I'm encouraged to hear that. And that's been my exposure as well. But I just wonder, like, well, is that a reflection of me kind of being in my own bubble, or is that just the populace at large? And I sincerely hope it's the latter. And it sounds like in your experience it is. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like, even when I always use this term, even when some of your, like, this issue is winning when, like, even rich Beverly Hills people are saying, like, abolish ICE. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, it was just so disturbing. I mean, look, I'm no fan of Karen Bass. I'm excited to vote for Nithya Raman in the general. But man, when you see your mayor just pleading with them to just get the hell out of here, and they do nothing. I mean, that is chilling. And I feel like anybody, regardless of what your political beliefs are or anything else, just seeing just these, completely like just report to nobody, just masked, violent vigilantes, more or less, reporting to like a Nazi king just on the streets, and your town and your city council is saying, get out of here. This is our city. I mean, I don't care like who you vote for. There's got to be part of you that's like, yeah, what the hell? Get out of here.
Yeah. And I think Karen Bass needs to do a lot better. So,
agreed. Yeah, I like her as far as I can throw her, but but even still, like.
Yeah, and another thing about this district, another thing about this race that we're trying to challenge the incumbent on is, his relationship or his fervor and passion around Israel. He is one of the most pro-Israel politicians in the state legislature. He has authored bills like AB 715, which for your listeners, or even for you if you don't know what AB 715 is essentially makes it censors discussions around Palestine in our K through 12 schools. Gavin Newsom signed into the law last year. It went into effect at the beginning of the year. So now that is something here. And it's an attack on the very ethnic studies that a lot of our teachers here in California fought so hard to implement. And, when you talk about ethnic studies, you can't teach ethnic studies correctly without critiquing and colonialism and imperialism. That includes Israel's, genocide in Gaza, the 80-year occupation of Palestine. But this is a man who since October 7th, has spent his every single day trying to get UCLA students expelled for the encampments.
Oh, he was one of those, huh?
Yeah.
That's horrible. Yeah. So, well, what is kind of your path to victory going to be? Like, 'cause it's like he does have a ton of power. He has a ton of money. Like, how do you think you can get through to this district to take a chance on something new?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, no one knew who the hell I was, and I got like 22% of the vote. I got 30,000 votes. What was new to me is that out of all the Democratic incumbents in the state assembly, he got the lowest percentage back. So he is vulnerable. He's especially vulnerable in the issues I mentioned. He's against CalCare. He hasn't done much about the ICE situation. He hasn't spoken out about it. I just read to you or showed you a record on Israel. Like, these are deeply unpopular positions he is taking. A lot of people I meet don't like him. Very rarely do I meet a person who is a big fan of the incumbent, and that's usually because they're friends with him. So we see this as a name recognition game, but because, again, no one knew who I was. I got 22% of the vote. I got 30,000 votes. I was able to beat 3 other people. Just because it's a blue district doesn't mean that second spot was guaranteed to me.
Mm-hmm.
So what we see is a name recognition. So we're trying to amplify ourselves. We're trying to speak to the renters here in our district. This district is 50% renters. And like I mentioned before, the incumbent is supported by the landlord lobby. He's supported by Airbnb. These are entities that are against new housing. They're against rent protections. The incumbent has voted against rental protection. So we want to harness that energy to vote for someone that wants to repeal Costa-Hawkins, that wants to repeal the Ellis Act here in California. So it's speaking to that. It's speaking to the affordability crisis here. It's speaking to why all the issues that could help so many people in this district, because while it is one of the wealthiest districts in the state, so many people are suffering. $90,000 now in this district is low income. And so many people are being priced out of this neighborhood, or this district, excuse me, and they need a champion who's going to fight for something rather than just be against something. So that's where we see our pathway to victory.
Where can people go to learn more about you?
So my website is colinforcalifornia.com. That is Colin with 1 L. And, I have most social media accounts. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, TikTok. I even have a Letterboxd account. Like, if you want to see my thoughts in the Odyssey when I see it this weekend, you'll be up to date. But that's where people can find me.
Well, Colin, best wishes. I wish you all the success. And for anyone who wants to learn more, please check out those resources. And thank you for doing this show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That was Colin Hernandez. Please do check out his campaign if you're in the area and if you want to learn more about that. I really hope he wins. I really, really hope he wins. We need more people like that in office, especially at the local and quasi-local levels, because that's where you have the best chance at making a difference. Good luck, Colin. We're with you. Definitely hope you win. Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxena. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Baywatching Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Please do leave us a 5-star review. Make sure you're subscribed. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, you can do so over at Patreon, patreon.com/ronfalcone for a Give What You Can level. You get all kinds of cool perks and content. You get full stand-up clips not available anywhere else. We do a Zoom hangout once a month. It's a really cool community we got going on. And you get insider information to film and events, and it's all for a Give What You Can level. And all right, 154, approaching another half decade as the summer marches on. All right, catch you next week. Peace.